December 17, 1925. A military courtroom in Washington, D.C. A brigadier general stands accused of insubordination. His crime? Telling the truth. 16 years later, on a quiet Sunday morning in Hawaii, his prophecy would come true in fire and blood. Over 2,400 Americans would die in minutes, and the military establishment that silenced him would finally understand what they'd ignored. This is the story of how a 1924 report predicted America's greatest air combat disaster, and why no one listened. His name was William Billy Mitchell, Brigadier General, pioneer, visionary, and to many in the military establishment of the 1920s, a dangerous troublemaker. Visual: photos of young Billy Mitchell in uniform, WWI service records. Mitchell had commanded American air combat units in World War I. He'd seen firsthand what aircraft could do, but more importantly, he'd seen what they would become. In 1921, the United States military was dominated by one belief: the battleship was invincible. These floating fortresses, with armor thicker than a man's arm and guns that could hurl shells 20 miles, they were the symbol of American power. The idea that airplanes, flimsy wood and canvas contraptions that had barely existed a generation before, could threaten them. Absurd, laughable, impossible. Billy Mitchell standing beside a bomber, confident expression. Billy Mitchell disagreed, and he was about to prove it. July 21st, 1921, 70 miles off the Virginia coast. The German battleship Ostfriesland sits at anchor, a prize captured after the Great War. The Navy brass had agreed to let Mitchell's airmen try to sink her. They were certain it couldn't be done. Bombers taking off, crews loading bombs. What happened next would shock the world. In just 22 minutes, Mitchell's bombers sent the unsinkable battleship to the bottom of the Atlantic. The admirals watched in stunned silence. The impossible had just become reality. Mitchell didn't stop there. He began writing reports, giving speeches, testifying before Congress. His message was urgent and uncompromising. Air power has completely superseded sea power. The nation that controls the air will control the oceans, and any nation that ignores this truth will pay a terrible price. But the military establishment wasn't just skeptical. They were threatened. Billions had been invested in battleships. Entire careers were built on naval dominance. And here was this upstart pilot suggesting it was all obsolete. Then came the report that would seal his fate. In 1924, Mitchell submitted a strategic assessment to the War Department. In it, he made a prediction so specific, so chilling, that it would haunt America for decades. He warned that Japan, a rising Pacific power with growing military ambitions, posed the greatest threat to American security, and he predicted exactly how they would strike. Attack will be launched from carriers at dawn. The target will be Pearl Harbor. He even specified the day, a Sunday morning, when defenses would be at their lowest. The response from his superiors? Dismissal, ridicule, and worse. In September 1925, the Navy airship USS Shenandoah crashed in a storm, killing 14 men. Mitchell exploded. He publicly accused the War and Navy departments of incompetence, criminal negligence, and almost treasonable administration of national defense. Visual: court-martial proceedings, stern judges, Mitchell's standing trial. That was the final straw. On October 28, 1925, Billy Mitchell was court-martialed. The charge: insubordination. The real crime: being right when powerful men wanted him to be wrong. Guilty verdict: Mitchell's resignation, him walking away from military base. He was found guilty, suspended from duty, his rank, his career, his reputation destroyed. Mitchell resigned from the Army in 1926. He spent the rest of his life warning anyone who would listen about the coming storm. Slow transition. Calendar pages flipping through years. 1926, 1930, 1935, 1940. But no one in power was listening. Visual. 1941. Peaceful Hawaii scenes. Sailors on liberty. Families. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, the Imperial Japanese Navy was listening to exactly the kind of doctrine Mitchell had preached. They were building carriers, training pilots, planning an attack. Japanese carrier fleet preparing war planning rooms. An attack on Pearl Harbor at dawn on a Sunday morning, December 7th, 1941, 7:55 a.m. Peaceful Pearl Harbor morning. December 7th, 1941, 7:55 a.m. A radar operator spots incoming aircraft. He's told not to worry, probably just American bombers. Japanese dive bombers appearing, torpedo bombers attacking, explosions. At 7:48, the first bomb falls. Within 2 hours, 353 Japanese aircraft, launched from 6 carriers, devastate the Pacific Fleet. 8 battleships sunk or damaged. 188 aircraft destroyed. 2,403 Americans dead. 1,178 wounded. Everything Billy Mitchell predicted in 1924 had come true. The method, the location, even the timing. One reporter dug up Mitchell's old report. The headline read, "Mitchell predicted it 17 years ago." Mitchell's grave, posthumous Medal of Honor ceremony. Billy Mitchell had died in 1936, 5 years before Pearl Harbor. He never saw his vindication. In 1946, Congress posthumously awarded him a special Medal of Honor. A final, bitter acknowledgement that he'd been right all along. Modern Air Force planes, carriers, air power in action. Today, the United States Air Force, the independent service Mitchell fought his entire career to create, dominates global military power. Carrier-based aviation is the cornerstone of American naval strategy. Everything Mitchell envisioned became reality. Memorial at Pearl Harbor, names on the wall, but it came at a terrible cost. 2,403 names on a memorial wall. Thousands more in the battles that followed. All because the right man said the right thing, and was silenced for it. History is full of prophets without honor, people who see what's coming and are ignored, ridiculed, or destroyed for speaking truth to power. Modern military planners, strategy rooms, officers studying report. Billy Mitchell's story isn't just about air power or military strategy. It's about the danger of institutional arrogance, about the cost of ignoring uncomfortable truths because they threaten the status quo. In 1924, one man saw the future clearly. He wrote it down. He testified. He warned them. They court-martialed him for it.